Dan Dickau here for Gonzaga Nation SI on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. This is the WCC Weekly. Pretty big week coming up for Gonzaga. Pretty big week coming up for St. Mary's. They're locked into the top two spots, the top two seeds going into the conference tournament, the Orleans Casino in Vegas to kick off championship week for the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. But there's a ton of possibilities out there for basically 3 through 8 positioning in the league. First off, St. Mary's sits at 13-1, Gonzaga 12-2, Santa Clara 9-5, LMU 8-7, USF 6-8, Pacific 6-8, BYU at 6-9. So they will have a losing record for the first time in WCC play. University of Portland 5-9, the Toreros of USD 4-10, and Pepperdine 2-12 to round out the bottom. But I'll get into the big matchup, St. Mary's Gonzaga, later in the episode. But St. Mary's has locked up at least top 4 bid. If they win one of 2 games this week, they will be a 3 seed. So they're home versus Pepperdine Thursday and at USD on Saturday. So I would imagine they win both of those. So I would say it's a pretty safe bet that Santa Clara will be the 3 seed. LMU sits at 8-7. They're at Pepperdine on Saturday. I would imagine they win that, especially considering the way that they have been playing. So you would imagine that they would go to 9-7. And with that, there is no chance that USF or Pacific could catch them. Now, if they were to lose that Pepperdine game, if USF were to win both, there would be a tie. It would go to a tiebreaker. And USF has Portland, and they're at BYU. So that's a difficult road game to finish conference. And then Pacific, they're at St. Mary's, and then they've got the Pilots of Portland at home to finish. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to say Santa Clara is going to be the 3 seed. LMU will be the 4 seed. But crazier things have happened. This has been a topsy-turvy year in the WCC for sure, with lots of upsets, lots of tremendous individual performances, which we saw a number of those again this week. Drew Timme went for 34 against Pepperdine. Julian Strother had a couple monster games in Southern California at Pepperdine as well as at LMU. Brandon Pajimski, 2 double-doubles. Cam Shelton had a 40-point game bouncing back after Gonzaga limited him Thursday. He had a great game on Saturday. So lots of basketball still to be played. You got BYU sitting at 6-9. They've got a bye on Thursday, so they're locked into a sub 500 record. The Pilots of Portland 5-9, and as mentioned, USD and Pepperdine rounding out the bottom. But the game that I think is interesting and unique to me this Thursday would be the UP at USF game. If UP were to win it, then there would be a tie in the standings. Basically a huge logjam in the standings, right from 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so then you would be going to a bunch of tiebreakers. Now, in the tiebreakers in the WCC, you go to head-to-head standings. So if you were tied in the standings, but you beat your opponent twice, you would get the advantage. If you split that, you would then go to who lost to a worse ranked team in the net. And so that's important to know and think about, because we'll touch on that when we talk about the St. Mary's Gonzaga game later on, and who would get the 1 seed if Gonzaga were to win that game. So we'll get right into that. St. Mary's coming up to play Gonzaga at the McCarthy Athletic Center. It's going to be a huge game. ESPN College Game Day will be there. I believe it's the 4th time they've been to Spokane, 3rd time where it has been a on-campus game. A few years back, they had a game day at Moraga for this matchup, but it's in Spokane this time. Gonzaga essentially controls their own destiny if they're going to extend their conference title streak, which currently sits at 10. If St. Mary's holds true and wins on Thursday, Gonzaga holds true, wins on Thursday as well against USD. That will be a monumental game. If St. Mary's were to win, they would be the outright champs. If Gonzaga were to win, doesn't matter the point differential, it just matters the matchup. It would create a tie for the WCC title. So Gonzaga would extend their 11-season winning streak of winning the league. But here's where the tiebreaker to see who would be the 1 seed in the conference tournament would be. So essentially what they would do is it would be split. Then they would go to whoever has the next worst loss. Both teams have lost to LMU, so then that completely would cancel each other out. And then they would go to who has the higher net. So who has the higher net ranking in the NCAA rankings. And that's really big. That's really important, for a number of reasons, because the NCAA selection committee has really been using that for their selection committee over the last few years for seeding in the NCAA tournament. As it sits this morning, February 19th, in the net, you have Gonzaga making a jump. Gonzaga now is 12 in the net, and St. Mary's is now, that is Gonzaga's 12 in the AP. St. Mary's is 15 in the AP. We want to look at the net. So the net as of this morning, February 19th, St. Mary's sits at 7 in the net. Gonzaga sits at 10 in the net. Now, it's interesting and important to look at quad 1 wins. Gonzaga is 3-4 in quad 1, 6-0 in quad 2. St. Mary's has only played 3 quad 1 games, so they're 2-1 in quad 1, 6-2 in quad 2 games. But the thing that's going to make it a little bit more interesting in adjusting and moving of this net ranking, and where Gonzaga might be able to catch St. Mary's in the net and overtake them to become the 1 seed. Now, obviously, this has to play out with Gonzaga winning on Saturday. But St. Mary's plays Pacific, and then they're at Gonzaga. So they play Pacific, and Pacific's net ranking is a 202. Gonzaga will play San Diego on Thursday. Their net ranking is a 217. So really, there's not going to be much adjustment and much movement for either of those teams after those games. It's not going to impact them, I would imagine, in any way, shape, or form. What it does do and what it will set up is the importance of the game on Saturday. I would imagine whoever wins that will go up above and higher than the opponent in the net. So really, if Gonzaga wins, based on everything that I've seen, the experience of seeing how the net moves, based on quad 1 wins versus quad 1 losses, in opponents, I would think Gonzaga would overtake St. Mary's in the net and be the 1 seed. But crazier things have happened at this time of the year. Really, you just got to worry about yourself and getting better. And Gonzaga has been doing that. You look at that first half against LMU on the road, down 5-4, and then they go on an absolute tear, a 20-0 run. Next thing you look up a few minutes later, they're up by more than 30, and then they're up at the half by 40, 68-28. They only scored 67 points in the matchup against LMU in Spokane. They score 68 in the first half. They go on to score 108 for the game. At one point, they led by 51 points. I thought their defense was tremendous, especially on Cam Shelton. I thought their offense was phenomenal. The ball was moving. There was tremendous spacing. Guys caught it. The ball didn't stick. Guys were ready to make decisions, move with it, and realize if it's a shot opportunity, if it's a pass, or make a play for a teammate opportunity. I thought it was tremendous. So big time week coming up. Should be a lot of fun. Obviously, their Gonzaga is locked into a double bye, so they move automatically to the semifinals. But it's going to be interesting, the jockeying, as I mentioned, between 3 through 8. I'm pretty sure Santa Clara is locked in at 3, barring a complete collapse by them. They will be the 3 seed. But, so really 4 through 8, it's going to be fantastic and fascinating to watch what plays out there. for the seeding in the tournament, and then who advances in the WCC tournament at the Orleans Casino in Las Vegas. So for the Gonzaga Nation Media Network, this has been the WCC Weekly. Look forward to coming back later this week with Adam Morrison, where we break down who our choices for awards are in the WCC: Player of the Year, Newcomer of the Year, Coach of the Year, Surprise Team of the Year. So take care. We'll catch you again real soon.